Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you on day one of She Builds the Future 2026 Power, Progress, and Presence, a Women's Day leadership initiative by TechGig. Today, we open with our exclusive panel discussion on women in leadership today, progress, gaps, and the road ahead. I'm your host, Khushi Mutkal, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you all with us today. And now I feel truly honored to welcome our distinguished speakers for this panel discussion. Ms. Manisha Banthia, Vice President and Expert Engineer, Data and Analytics at Pfizer. Ms. Tejshri Madhu, Head of Business Excellence at Siemens Technology and Services Private Limited. And Mr. Kanya Ramachandran, Head Inclusion and Belonging and People Sustainability at Wipro Limited. It's such a pleasure having all of you join us today as part of our opening panel for She Builds the Future 2026.
The pleasure is all ours.
We are very excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you everyone for joining over a weekend on a Saturday.
Yes, we are glad to have all of you. And we are honored to have such diverse leadership perspectives across engineering, product, inclusion, marketing, and business excellence represented on one platform. And I'm confident that today's exchange of ideas will be both insightful and inspiring for all of us. And now about the session. Over the past decade, we've seen measurable progress in women's leadership representation across technology and business. We see that participation is rising, visibility is getting stronger, and performance data also reflects that growing influence at decision making tables. And yet, the journey towards equitable leadership remains layered and complex. So, this panel brings together accomplished leaders who have navigated these realities firsthand. While participation and visibility have improved over the past decade, equitable leadership remains a complex and evolving journey. It will also uncover the growing role of global capability centers in strengthening structured leadership pipelines for women in technology. Beyond metrics and milestones, we'll hear candid reflections, practical insights, and lessons that can guide the next generation of women leaders. Our goal today is simple: to move the conversation from visibility to sustained influence. Further, I would like to mention that this session is scheduled for 60 minutes. The first 40 minutes will feature insights and discussions from our panelists, and the final 10 minutes will be open for questionnaire. So to all of the attendees, feel free to drop your questions anytime in the Q&A window. And now, without further ado, let's get started. So firstly, to kick things off, I would like to begin with asking you all that when you look back at your leadership journey, what was that one defining moment that fundamentally changed how you lead today? Tejshri, I'd like you to go first.
All right. Thank you, Kushi. And thank you for the question. And thank you to all the audience who've joined in today. The one defining moment in my career has been when I decided that I won't be bound by the kind of roles that people tell me to pick up. And when I said I'm going to take control of my career, I think that was a significant change in the way I drove my career post that. Till then, I was always asking the companies that I was working with, the leaders that I was working with, as to what can I do different, what can I do more. And then I said, how can others tell me what is it that I can do? When I decided to take that control on myself, I felt more empowered and I was able to drive it the way that I wanted to. And truly, that was a game changer for me. I think after that, I kind of took multiple risks in my career, and I'm happy to be where I am today with Siemens. So that's my very quick answer. And yeah, back to you, Krishi.
Thank you so much, Tejshri, for the answer. And now I would like Sukanya you to please answer the question.
Thanks, Khushi. So, like most people, when I started off my career, I was also very task oriented and operationally, wanting to succeed operationally in whatever I get. I think the defining moment really was, when I started shifting focus from operational success to the design and the purpose of the activity. So I think that is a game changer in how you approach things, and that clearly I think made an impact in terms of the roles I've picked, in terms of what I wanted to learn, and then followed my heart based on curiosity. Thank you.
Beautiful answer, Sukanya. And now, Manisha, I would like you to please let us know.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Kushi. So, for me, I think there were two things, two parts of that turning point. One was, data analytics as a career choice way back, that time. It was a very technical kind of role, but I realized, you know, I think a lot of it happened because I had very tough business users, right, of the solutions that I was building. So the two parts of the answer is the knowledge, right? That the business knowledge really matters, and two, how openly I could communicate with the business users, right? So till then, there was a scare, there was this worry, that fear, right? That I was probably not ready to answer business questions. But as soon as I kind of took that leap, that I could question, I could listen, I could communicate better with the business leaders I was working with, I think things completely changed. So it was not just a task oriented, get this done, but a communication in terms of what are we trying to build and why are we trying to build. Having those questions ready for the business users completely changed my data analytics career.
Rightly mentioned, Manisha, and definitely with all of your perspectives and journeys that you have set yourselves onto, we are honored to have such an incredible set of women leaders with us speaking on such a great topic today. And I would request all of our attendees to please, keep sending all the questions that you want our speakers to answer. And moving forward with our next segment, I would like to ask Tejshri that now, when you see that from your vantage point at Siemens, how do you think that global capability centers must rethink their leadership models to ensure that women move from participation to real decision making influence?
So, of course, I mean, thank you for that question and for not assuming that whatever is working today will work for the future. I think, what the distinction that we got to make is there are some very important interventions that global capability centers need to drive to kind of move the women leaders to a place of power and a place of being able to make decisions for their organizations. Uh, Along my journey, I realized that it doesn't come very easily for very many women. And that's surprising to me because I come from a background that is very different from probably many other women. I feel empowered by myself. And I realized that when I was looking at, when I was speaking to some of my colleagues and interacting with my teams, I realized that everybody comes from a different place and their upbringing and their exposure and their experience uh, has given them a different vantage point, like you called it. So, what is it that we could do as global capability centers in my eyes? And this is relating to one of the surveys that I was reading up. And it said that about 85% of the women, I think it's from Women Tech Survey, if I'm not wrong, and it said 85% women reportedly experience imposter syndrome or self doubt. And that's a significant number. 85% is a large number of people who have self doubt. When I say people here, I'm referring to women who have self doubt. So there's an inherent, challenge that is there brewing in very many women's minds who are on the career path. So, as global capability centers, one thing that we definitely need to do is how can we uproot that self doubt? How can we enable them to take, more confident decisions? And in Siemens, we have done some significant, we've contributed to it significantly by driving some initiatives. Like there is a Propel Her program, which is catering to mid-career women who are on the path to move to the next level, to the senior levels. What kind of challenges do they have? How can we do some interventions there? That is something that we are driving very actively, and it has seen some really good success. And the women who come out of it, they say that they feel more confident to take their decisions. They're able to contribute better to the organization because of their confidence. So, in my eyes, it's a win-win. More women empowered is bringing more diverse perspectives to solving problems that are existing in the system. So it is, extremely important that the global capability centers invest in women's nurturing programs that are catering to enabling them to succeed. So that's what I would like to say. And then I'm open to anybody, Manisha or Sukana, if you have different perspectives, would be happy to hear from you as well.
Yeah, Techi, absolutely. You call it the Propel program. We call
Yeah.
it the Leading Women program. And yeah, I think if any one of the people in the audience, the organizations that you work with do not have such programs, I think it is very important. What happens is for us, the global leaders step in. They are actually sponsors of this program, so you could reach out. They can become your mentors. It's a global thing. So we have, for example, Asia Pacific, EMEA. Everybody participate in that program. We get to know each other, and people open up, right? And it's not, to your point, Tejri, it is not just people who, it's not our problem. The same problems are being faced by women in APAC or EMEA or US, right? So we are global, so we see that. So I think that program, the Leading Women program, helps us do that, and you should connect with your HR leaders to have such programs that are recognized at the headquarter level, right? Very, very important to have such programs. So we do some smaller initiatives here, but from a GCC perspective, completely agree, Tejri. Those programs led from headquarters really help.
Thank you for those powerful reflections,
Yeah.
Tejri and Manisha. And now I would request Sukanya if you would like to add anything, your thoughts on the same.
Sure. So, how we've done it is that we've approached it in a very structured manner. We call it the Women of Wipro framework, and how we've tailored it based on the career journey of women employees or leaders. So we've identified different stages and what is the sum of the support that's needed in different stage. Because of course, data globally shows that you enter or you're typically at hiring close to 50%, but the percentages taper as you go up, right, in diversity, and that's something that we want to fix. And organizations should be a reflection of the communities that they are part of, right? So if you're 50% in population globally, shouldn't that reflect at all levels as well, right? So that's an interesting part, when you kind of walk the career journey with women leaders and women employees. How do you build uh, based on the need at each career level? Like for example, I'm just giving an example. Like for example, maternity is a phase where we saw that women are dropping out of the workforce, and what we did is we took like a two-pronged initiative. So one is that we walked with them in the whole maternity journey, which is, we sensitized the managers, created forums where managers could be sensitized, and we also created avenues where the women employees are aware of the holistic support that is needed across the organization, and walk that path with them, and with which we were able to see 99% return rate. So that's something that we've succeeded in. But the other piece that we saw is that there are also a lot of people who have dropped out of corporate and want to return back. So we launched a program where anybody who's taken a 6 month or more break can return back, and in fact we've seen fabulous retention rate in that program too. So I think that's some of the initiatives that corporates can take to make sure that we bring back more women in the workforce. Yeah.
It's Kanya, very beautifully mentioned, and that's a very insightful perspective. It clearly highlights the importance of building leadership structures that enable real influence. So, with these powerful reflections that all of you just mentioned, we would like to move forward to the next segment. So, Sukanya, I'd like to bring this question to you. So, as you see from an inclusion and belonging standpoint, how do you see leadership participation data translating into real cultural change? And where do organizations still fall short despite the visible progress?
Simply put, Khushi, I think inclusion is something that needs to be weaved into everyday actions and the organization culture. Right, the moment it's run as a separate agenda or an item, it's going to be very different, targets that you're chasing, and it cannot be a target target-based approach, right? We continue to lead with a philosophy that all decisions are taken on merit. You're not going to take a decision because of a characteristic that has been associated with a person, be it women, be it LGBTQIA, employees with disability, or any of the pillars that we work on. So leadership support clearly brings that alignment in terms of what you want to achieve as an organization, to what is giving that vision, role modeling the behavior, amplifying the voices that you want the employees to see and be heard. So I think it's a very important part. It also enables us to build systems, share progress, for create relatability in the organization. So I would say that inclusive leadership is something that has to be imbibed into the leadership programs to make sure that we build leaders who are there's intent for inclusion in the way they lead.
Right, Sukanya, and that's a very important perspective because it clearly highlights that how data must translate into meaningful action. And now, Tejshri and Manisha, would you like to also add your perspectives on the same?
Yeah, most definitely. I think one of the things that makes a lot of difference in terms of inclusivity is seeing role models, who are women. I think one of the things that has helped me and my career is also, not with direct interactions with women, but most of them I've seen on TV or screens or on interviews. And they have really made me question why I have limited my own self. And I think that one particular thought itself, drove my, thought pattern. And I said, okay, I don't have to be bound by my role or my gender or whatever it is, right? So that was my first step towards being inclusive for myself. Otherwise I was keeping myself away and looking at the rest of the world as a different entity. So I think seeing role models is a fantastic way to bring in inclusion in my eyes in organizations. So one of the things that we have done in at Siemens is showcase more women leaders, both tech, domain, or business, whatever aspect they are coming from. We kind of showcase more of their success stories and their journeys. And when more women see that, they know that, okay, I can aspire for that too. Otherwise, there is a little bit of a barrier there for women to, because they don't see very many women in that, whatever that they're aspiring to in the senior leadership. So when they see that, it makes them want to take that step. So I believe that's a fundamental thing that we all need to work towards, to have more role models be visible in the system. That is one. The second aspect is, of course, it's more inherent, and this is my request to all the women, that each of us can feel empowered. We don't need external validation. First of all, we are all capable of doing whatever we want to. I think this is more a mental dialogue that each of us need to have with ourselves, to kind of not worry about are we being included. The only question that we need to ask ourselves is, are we good at what we do? I think if we answer that, I think inclusion happens automatically in my eyes. I could be wrong. I might learn more about it along the way. But at the moment, my learnings teach me that you got to be really good at your skill. And whatever you bring to the table, then really gender doesn't matter. Really it doesn't. So you got to believe in yourself, is what I believe in. That's what I wish to pass on to whoever is listening in today.
That's a great and powerful reflection, Tejshri, I have to say, and that definitely makes us also move forward with every action that we take in our day-to-day lives. So now, Manisha, I would request you to please add your perspectives on the same.
Yeah, I also think, right, to both what Sukanya and Tejshri said, I also think some of it is us, like Tejshri just concluded. Sometimes, for example, we have late evening meetings, right, in the US, and those are, let's say, strategy meetings. And let's say I'm not invited to it, right? So there is this whole cultural thing that, that maybe the India team cannot join us. But I think if you want to join it, if like the H3 thing I said, right, that if you think if you're good at your work and you feel empowered, you can go and ask for things, right? It's not always that it's not inclusive. It's also for you to raise your voice and say that, may I join those meetings, right? I would love to join those meetings. And then in our cases, we've seen meeting timings change. right? Or you are asked to travel for those meetings. So it's not that it's not part of the plan, so let me not ask for it. Please ask for it. If you think you can provide your valuable inputs into those sessions, then you should. So inclusivity also should come from us. Sometimes when the organization may have missed us, or the setup doesn't help much, but you can change the setup, I think, and it's all good. I think when I last week I asked for something like this and it worked, right? And it was not like a big thing for them to change the meeting timing by 2 hours or ask us to travel, right? Saying, yeah, yeah, absolutely, please just. So sometimes it's just a restriction in our head, or in the minds of the business units that we work with, right? That, oh, they're in India and they cannot do this. But if you say you can, I think they're very supportive. So then it becomes all inclusive, right? The way we want it to be. So please ask for things. Sometimes don't think it's not allowed or not going to happen. That's all I would add.
Yeah.
Yes, Manisha,
So I just
definitely. That's a very
added
strong
there
perspective.
the lean in philosophy, right? So lean in where you want.
Right, Sukanya. And definitely with this perspectives from all of you, we've gathered very amazing reflections from your personal experience as well, which definitely was something we were looking forward to. So, which makes us move forward to our next segment, where I would like to put this question to Manisha. So, Manisha, as you see in deeply technical domains like data and analytics, how do you think leadership expectations have evolved, and what should aspiring women technologists focus on to move from execution level to influence level?
Yeah, so yes, data analytics has evolved in such a big way, right? And it was, like I said earlier, it was seen more as a technical depth, right? But what has happened that with so much of data available, you can actually take a lot of strategic decisions. So today, we just don't do analytics data or analytics programs for external facing. We also do it for our internal business units. There's a lot of data available. You can take a lot of strategic and you know decisions that actually affect the organizations, right? So I think we have to wear that hat too, that it is not just the technical depth, but also that I can take a role in taking a strategic decision for the organization. And we need to start thinking beyond the algorithms, beyond the models, beyond the data engineering concepts, right? And think, right, how I will integrate it into the real business workflows, right? How I will bring in AI efficiency. So the thought process has to change. If you're a data analytics person, that how do I look at from a business perspective? My technical depth is all there, but how do I really affect the business? And from an aspiring women technologist perspective, one thing that I've learned is that we have to get into strategic decisions or conversations earlier, right? Earlier in the game, so that you're part of it from the beginning, right? It should not be that a decision has been taken and then you kind of follow. If you can insert yourself right into start getting into these conversations earlier, and again, like I kind of go back to Techri's point, if you bring the value, you will be recognized, you will be brought into those conversations. So start thinking like that. How can I participate early on, and not just be an implementer? So why am I going to build this model? Why is this model going to be built? What is the value of this? Shouldn't we do it this way? Do you think this will work? So become more conversation, bring it more, make it more interactive, ask a question, and then it all becomes better. So start early. I think don't become an implementer. And uh, I think we should, as women leaders, technology leaders, we should also start uh, you know showing our value from a technical perspective. Like sometimes we back out from an architecture whiteboarding session, right? Just to step forward. It's very important that you make your point, right? And draw that one small thing on the whiteboard, right? Step out and don't sit on that chair. Get up, do some whiteboarding, explain your point if that helps you better, right? So I think participate in the technology conversations as well. And I think the third thing that I think is mentorship. If you feel that you lack from a perspective of communication, or you're not able to bring out a point very clearly, I think look for mentors. You know, like we discussed earlier, the role model is very important. You will know people in your organization who speak well, or who who speak with authority, right? Or know how to navigate a particular situation. So reach out to them. You can also reach out to your the male leaders, right? Not just the female, the women leaders, but you can reach out to them and ask them to become your mentors. Mentorship helps in a big way. So for example, at Pfizer, we do things like a pitch perfect, right? We just do elevator pitches. We come in, speak for 2 minutes, and the people who are judges of that panel actually tell you what you could have done better. So learn to pitch perfect. We also have speed mentoring kind of things where you don't have to wait for a mentor who's going to be with you for the full year, but you can do quick mentorship exercises as well. So I think do those, work on yourself, but start getting into strategic conversations earlier on. I think that is very, very important, right? And not follow once a decision has been taken. Be part of the decision making. That's what I would say for the aspiring women.
Great takeaways, Manisha, I have to say, because these insightful perspectives have made us clear that leadership today demands not just capability, but towards clarity, courage, and conscious influence is something that we are looking ahead to. So, with this, I would also request Tetri to please add your perspectives on the same. Tetri, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, Manisha, those were really good points. I think I kind of resonated with some of your, bullet points there. One being start early, in terms of getting into the strategic conversations. I think that's an absolute must. And how do we do that for all the women and men who are wanting to be part of the larger conversations is participate in org-wide initiatives. I think that's at least a definite segue for you to kind of listen into how your contribution can impact the organization. And when you start contributing, you definitely bring in more influence for yourself too, because in doors, in rooms that you're not part of, those your efforts will definitely be spoken about if you do a really good job. So definitely participate in organization wide initiatives. They bring a very, very different perspective, apart from your project level, whatever daily grind of work that you have to participate in that. That's one definite insight. The other thing I believe can add a lot of value is pick diverse roles, as in don't be bound by the kind of roles that you've been doing so far. And if you're interested and if you are passionate about something else, it's okay to take those risks earlier in your career, because you get different perspectives when you do different kinds of work. And honestly, I have become richer by the experience for all the risks that I have taken. uh, Not everything pays off, but in the long run they all add up. In the long run, you can always pick pearls from each of your whatever uh, path that you have taken. So I would say these two things are definitely something that each of the women or men, whoever is listening, can benefit from to bring more influence towards themselves.
That's a very strong reflection and perspective, Tetri, I have to say. So, Sukanya, would you also like to add your perspectives on the same?
Yeah, I think Manisha and Tejashree have really covered a lot of aspects in terms of, how to kind of build and move ahead with intent. I just want to add one perspective which I've often heard in some of the leadership conversations that have come in, right? While we look at mentors, we should also look at sponsors for us. And if you think you're good at something, walk up to that leader and ask them if they would become the sponsor for you, because then they will have to position you in those closed room conversations, right? Because it's not in terms of adding up in terms of skills, but those leaders who know that some roads are opening up, and they would recommend you for those roads because of their visibility to your skill, right? So as we move up, I think it's also important important to identify or place sponsors, because they will make sure that you are aware of the opportunities that come in. So that's the only piece I wanted to add. But otherwise, I think very well and very, very relatable points and important points from Manisha and Tejasri.
Right, and definitely, Tejasri, Sukanya, and Manisha, this discussion is making one thing clear, that progress in leadership is real, but sustaining it requires that intention, structure, and collective accountability. So, definitely, with all of your perspectives and these insights coming from your personal experiences, is something that we feel that it's getting us to explore that what it truly takes to move from participation to meaningful influence, per se. So now, before we close, I would also request all of our attendees to keep putting your questions in the Q&A tab so that we can take them towards the end. So moving forward with the one final question that I would like to ask all of you, that looking back, what would be that one piece of advice that you truly wish you had received earlier in your leadership journey, and how would it have changed your path? So for this, Manisha, I would like you to go first.
Yeah, I think as a person, I was very quiet and kind of didn't come out not aggressive, right? Would not come out assertiveness. So, and I always thought, sometimes they say, as a Virgo, right? They say you want to be perfect. So I think those were some of my traits I realized later, and always trying to be perfect, and making sure you know everything before you step into something was something that I learned, that you can start. You don't need to be absolutely ready for something. You can learn while leading as well, right? So I think getting into things earlier on, again, like I said, more into conversations earlier, but generally as a career thing, right? I think you can step into bigger roles, take up more responsibilities, and you can learn along the way. You don't have to already know it and then do it. I think that is one thing I learned. Uh, you know, I think that learning while leading kind of sticks to my head even now, right? So even now, for example, a lot of us are getting into these AI programs, right? Now, do I know AI the way I know data analytics, which has been the traditional analytics? Do I know AI that way? But does anybody else really know it that well? And even if you don't know it as well, right? There's no harm. You could still start on your AI journey. You can take up leadership roles in AI, and you can learn while you do it, and you have to put that effort, I think. But that is one learning. Don't wait for everything to be perfect, and then take that step. Take one step back and get started, I think, right? And learn along the way. That's one big learning for me, I think. Even my first appraisal, I remember, right? When I had my first appraisal many years back, I thought I'd done everything right, right? And then they said, no, you could have actually done more. I said, you didn't give me the work, right? And I didn't know so much about, doing this. But the expectation from the other side is that you will start on early on, and you will ask, right? If you're not getting what you need, or you don't know how to do it. So the expectation from the other side is for you to actually start working on it, and not wait for the work to come to you. So get up, I think, and just go for it. And yeah, I could have probably learned, had even higher, more leadership roles earlier in my career had I done it. So that's one big learning for me.
That's a great one, Manisha, I have to say. So, with this, I would request Tetri to you, please take forward.
Yeah, of course. I think Manisha's point of learning on the go and not, knowing everything ahead is definitely one thing that resonates with me as well. The other thing is, you don't have to do it all by yourself. Most of the women have the superwoman syndrome. I don't know if it's a syndrome, whatever you want to call it, but we want to do it all by ourselves. I think one thing that really was empowering for me was to realize that I can collaborate and have better successes rather than just do it all by myself. I think that's definitely something I'd like everyone to explore if they haven't already, because with collaboration, you can win much more than you can do alone. So that's definitely one thing I'd recommend. The other thing is, of course, in terms of managing your mind. I would say taking time to, think through the problems, blocking some time for yourself to reflect as to, what am I doing, what's working well, what's not working well, and how do I navigate my path. Taking that deliberate time and effort, and taking that pause is extremely important to kind of move in the right direction. Otherwise, what happens, we get caught in whatever is happening and we kind of keep moving forward, and then we miss that outside in perspective. So it always helps to take that pause, step out, and look at, okay, am I navigating this right? Can I get help from anyone else? Can I get mentors? Can I get sponsors? Can I get, whatever else is required? Do I need to learn a new skill? All of that insights start popping in our heads when we take time for ourselves to reflect on that. So that's something that I think is of great value. I think these are the two things that I would say that most of the women has helped me, and I probably think it'll help many other women also if you have not been doing that.
Definitely, Tejri. And definitely the beautiful way that we're getting to know all of these insights is the perfect way to actually learn from your expertise and from your personal experiences, to be very honest. So now, Sukanya, I would request you to please let us know your perspective on the same.
Thanks. Thanks. I think one bit that I would have thought very differently when I started off to how I see things now is that career trajectories are, very rarely linear, and the inflection points in your career trajectory are not necessarily planned, right? And those are those expansive moments which will completely change you, transform you. So I think that is a perspective which I have picked, I would say, much later. And like Tejri mentioned, like all your experiences add up. Maybe at that point it doesn't look relevant to you, and it's maybe you're not able to make sense. But I think all your experiences definitely add up, and it is those inflection points where you learn the maximum, and it will change you as a person and transform you. So I think that is something I've picked up in my journey, and would have really appreciated if I looked at things like that from the starting.
Definitely, Sukanya. And that's also something that, makes us keep going, because once we have that one piece of advice, and when we can actually, cater it down to all of our people we know and people to the audience, maybe, so for us to keep learning from and keep moving forward. So those were some amazing perspectives. So thank you so much, Tejri, Madhu, and Pooja, and I'm so sorry, Manisha and Sukanya, for all these reflections. So now we've received a lot of questions from the audience, and we'll try to take up a few of them. So the first one I see, Manisha, is particularly for you. So Dili, she's asking that, Manisha ma'am, what's the right way to learn data analytics as a fresher? And like, we have to take right decisions and make strategic moves right now. It will work, how we can learn and get that confidence and thinking level.
Yeah, I think, pick up a few courses, right? There are, even on YouTube, I think, even if you don't have the, way to get into a professional course, I think even, some videos, and there are many things you can even learn through LinkedIn, etc. nowadays. So join some courses, but most importantly, whichever field you are in, right? I know, I think you said you're a fresher, but let's say you're going to get into, let's say, HR or finance, or whatever your career path is going to be, right? Or it could be, retail or banking, whatever, right? The career you take up, I think start applying it to the sphere you're going to be in. So if you're going to learn how to do data analysis, it's very simple things called exploratory data analysis, right? Today, how you look at your spends, right? Where are you spending your money today? What percentage is spent in what, and over a period of last 2 years, how has your spending pattern changed, right? So very simple things that you can apply to your own data, or even the sphere that you're working in, like in HR or finance, any domain that you're working in. The best part is if you apply it to the data that you have, and then the learning becomes even better. So it's not just about doing a course. Do it, learn the basics of it, learn the basic concepts of machine learning, and there is supervised learning, there is unsupervised learning. There is a lot of AI coming in. The AI packages will do the job for you, but you need to know the workings of it, right? So that's why if you apply it to the data that you have, whatever data you may have available, or sometimes you could even do a case study. They give you sample data, so learn with data. Don't just say, okay, this is the formula for it, and I can apply it to a data, see the outcome, and see if it is making sense. It's a very basic thing I'm saying, but that is really the foundation. If you don't know how to apply it, you can do as many courses as you want, but you have to apply it. Happy to talk more about this, but for now, I think there's so many questions. We will take those up. Yeah.
Right, Manisha. Thank you so much for the answer. So now moving forward to the next question, that is by Neha. She's asking that after a career break of 2 to 3 years, why it becomes difficult to enter again the industry. So who would like to take up this question?
I can take that up, Kushi.
Sure, sir.
Um, yeah, sorry. This is from Neha. You mentioned, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. So, look, the industry is moving at a pace that is so fast, right? That people, there is an assumption, and I would say it's an unconscious bias that there is there is going to be a learning gap because the fact that you've had a career break, right? And that's the myth that we have to bust when we have to kind of do those interviews, right? So there's a little bit of brushing up in terms of technical skills and preparing for interviews. And I mean, you can look up the Begin Again program on the Wipro website, and I'm just referring to that because we put up resources that if you want to prepare for an interview after a career break, what that would mean, right? The challenge is actually the unconscious bias that exists, right? And that's what you have to overcome when you walk into the interview. So primarily it is that, but I think if you have prepared yourself in terms of what to expect, and that's what you position yourself in front of recruiters, you will be able to overcome that challenge. So simply put, I think it is your intent with which you will have to drive this particular conversation. I hope
Right.
that helps, Neha. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
If I may just add, I've been on the other side interviewing, returning women to work, right, who are coming back after a break. I think what mattered most to us, right, when we were on the interview panel was the attitude, right? Even if you took a break, it did not matter. If you were showing that attitude, that you're willing to learn and willing to kind of bridge that gap, whatever technology may have changed, etc. It was really just the attitude that mattered to us, and not how much you've kept yourself technically updated. So
Right, Manish.
Yeah.
just to add to your point here.
And to add to both of your points, I think, connecting the dots becomes extremely important. So I think as long as you're able to connect the dots in your head, the attitude, like Manisha mentioned, will kind of be visible. So you need to first be okay with it. First of all, don't come from a space of, okay, I've taken a break, I'm already disadvantaged. If you don't come from that space, then your attitude is already taken care of. So feel confident that it's okay. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to come back. You come from the space of confidence and the right attitude, and be that learner, like Sukanya was mentioning. You have the aptitude to learn and bridge that gap. I think that's all that takes. So, and I have taken although it wasn't a break, I moved from a corporate career to my own entrepreneurship and then back to the corporate world. It took me some time to navigate back from my entrepreneurial world back to a corporate world, but I knew what my dots were. I knew how to connect them. So I'm sure each of you can connect it based on your own personal experiences. So my request to you is, don't come from a space of I'm disadvantaged. Come from a space of I can do it. Then you will get the right attitude to face any interview, and I think you'll be okay.
Rightly mentioned, Tejshri, and that's actually a very strong reflection from all of you that we have got particularly on this aspect of the answer, definitely. So, moving forward to the next question, we have the next question by Mikala. She is wishing all of you a very happy International Women's Day. And she's also asking that how do you deal with diversity workplace being an early career candidate? I think the framing,
Yeah,
yeah.
not
Yeah,
sure.
so yeah, I'm not very
Maybe
clear. So
Sukanya,
how
maybe.
do you deal with diversity being an early career candidate? Does she mean that how do you build diversity at an entrance level?
Yeah, I
Or
think,
how do you, or are you seeing bias at an entrance level itself? I would assume that at an entry level, the diversity is a reflection of where the organization's looking at hiring. And I think organizations today understand that it's diversity of thought, diversity of background, right? Cultural diversity, and all of that matters in what you're building. Like we're speaking about AI and the data that's fed into AI and what how you train your AI models. It is important that the AI model is trained for all kinds of audience, right? Because the idea is then that's when your product is going to be viable and most acceptable. So I don't think that we are at a point where we have to explain the importance of diversity to organizations. So I would say that you should position yourself as superior that ways that how the organization will benefit having you on their part. But of course, we should always remember that merit is non-negotiable. So I think that comes first before any other characteristic gets associated. So that's in nutshell how I'd like to put it.
right, Sukanya. Thank you so much for that. And Manisha or Tetri, would you like to also add your perspective?
Yeah, I just say take it out of your head. Don't have that question in your head. And if you still feel there are issues, I think if at all you need to go and talk to somebody in HR, do that. But if you're facing those entry issues, right, that uh, because of, I think just take it out of your. It should not bother you at all. I think just do your work, right, and
Yeah.
don't let it get into the way of your work.
Right, Manisha. So thank you so much. And now we'll move forward with the next question, which is by Pallavi. She's asking that how can one strategically position oneself to hiring managers for a role where you may meet about, say, 70% of the requirements, but would need to rapidly upskill for the rest?
Yeah,
Tetri,
as
would
in,
you like to?
yeah. So I think 70% honestly is a good fit. And of course, what can work in your favor is if you can showcase your ability to upskill quickly. If you've done it in the past, if you can showcase some of those examples from the past where you've demonstrated upskilling at a great pace, I think that's all everybody is looking at. And I think, like Manisha mentioned earlier, it's the attitude that counts. So if you bring the right confidence and share that, okay, I have a like I have a 70% match, but it's not going to take me long to upskill myself. I think that's what will wing it in your favor. So
Rightly mentioned, Tetri.
yeah, yeah.
And Sukanya or Manisha, would you like to also add?
No, and why would somebody look at 100% fit? I mean, then what is there to learn in the role? So that's how you should position
Exactly.
that it has to be exciting to the
That's
candidate
true.
as well. So
That's right.
that's how you should take it forward.
Yes, Sukanya. So, all right. So, this makes us move forward to our next question, which is by Anjali. She's saying that the panel mentions invisible barriers that still exist for women leaders. So, could you share an example of such a barrier that organizations often overlook? Something.
I think I was
Sorry,
mentioning
can you
this
repeat
earlier.
that? Yeah,
Go
the
ahead, Sukanya.
barrier part. Sorry, go ahead, Tejasvi.
No, no, I think I was mentioning earlier that the barrier that exists is women themselves believe or having that doubt that are they capable. I think I mentioned about that during my talk earlier. I
Right.
think that's an unconscious bias that exists in very many of us. So we need to look at how can we address that for ourselves, and if there is support that's needed. I think Manisha mentioned, Sukanya mentioned that look for mentors, look for sponsors, look for role models, like I was saying. So any of these would give you what you need to break those biases. And one thing that really works is kind of be be confident that you can achieve whatever you want. I think that's all these barriers don't matter, as in, like, you be good at your game. I think if you look at all the women who've succeeded, they just kept doggedly working on what they're really good at, and the world started noticing it over a period of time. So I think that's what we should keep doing. And I think all of these barriers, like Manisha was also mentioning, don't pay so much attention on it. Like, just keep doing your work, and then all of this will get taken care of. The more you focus on it, the more you get stuck there. That's my personal experience as well. So it's better not to stay focused on, oh, is this a barrier? Do I have to worry about this? Am I going to face a challenge? Come on, there are many women who have done it. You can do it too. And even if nobody has done it, women, men, whatever, you can still do it. You can do it.
Right, Tejshri. So that's something that we've, got as a great perspective for the question that she just asked. So now, as we are still left with a lot of questions, we'll take the remaining questions quickly. So the next question is that how to create one's own brand. Women don't speak about the achievement, but how can we overcome the barrier? So Kanya, would you like to take this one?
Sure. I think I would say that this whole session was a masterclass on, kind of how to do that, right? So we've covered work on your skill, work on having mentors, make sure that, you are raising your hand up for the opportunities, make sure that you're leaning in and communicating adequately of where you want to be. Right? So the intent and make sure that the intent to be the brand gets displayed. So then brand automatically follows.
Rightly
Yeah.
mentioned, Kanya. So thank you so
I
much.
think
And now,
I just
I think just, if you can't speak, drop an email, right? With if you can't brand, talk about your achievement, write an email. That's always easy. And then, people will always respond to it. Sometimes if you cannot talk about what you achieved in a meeting, in a group, start with an email at least, right?
right, Manisha. So
yeah.
moving forward to the next question, that is by Shelja. She's asking that what is that one piece of advice you would give to young women entering the tech or corporate world today? I think we did cover the pieces of advice towards
Gave
the
a
last.
lot of advice already, I
Yeah,
think. We're sounding like an advisory board right now. So it's
yeah.
okay.
So we can move ahead with the next question, which is what is that one leadership myth about women that you believe needs to be challenged in today's workplace? Would you like to take this up, Tejshri?
I honestly can't think of a leadership myth at the moment. I think, like I said, it's mostly perceptive. So you break the perception for yourself. I think you're sorted. That's my that's my take.
Yeah. And that's the
Maybe we are seen as empathetic, right? Which is a good skill to have, I think. So it's not a myth or anything. I think it's just
That's true. Yeah.
right. So,
yeah.
so maybe we are more empathy. There's more empathy, but I think it's required in some situations, and sometimes maybe you need to be a little more strong, right? For some leaders, maybe it may come out like that. But empathy is an important skill, so it's not something one
Actually,
should.
it's a plus point.
Yes, it's a
Yeah.
plus point.
Yeah.
Right, very right, Tejshri and Manisha. So now we will move forward with our next question, which is by Avantika. She's asking that looking back at your first year in the corporate world, what is that one piece of advice that you received or a lesson you learned that has stayed with you throughout your career? This is a bit different from the pieces of advice that we gathered. So, can you recall that one advice from your first year in the corporate world?
I think I can take that, or I'll just share my take on that. So I remember
Yes.
working very hard on a project, and the resources were limited, and I thought we did fairly well given the time and the resources, the way it was implemented. I was very happy with the outcome. And then I was getting feedback from all corners, and I was furious, and I was thinking that how are people giving feedback? I mean, do they even realize that what resources and what timeline we've turned this around in? And that's when my manager said that, look, people are going to give feedback, so it is just a way of improving. Not everybody is going to be privy to how you kind of worked with things, and what is the turnaround time that you took to kind of with the resources that you had. But you have to build perspective with all this and then move forward. So that, I think, was a eye opener for me. Yeah, that's something that stayed with me, that whatever you implement, there's going to be feedback, and there is has you have to receive it with basis your truth, right? And you have to be open to feedback. So that's something I picked up early on, I would say, in the first year.
Yeah, and that's a great one, I have to say, Sukanya. What was it for you, Manisha, if you can recall that one
I, I
thing
talked
that
a
you
bit
learned?
about it. I think challenge the status quo, right? Whether it was the first year of my work or now maybe the 30th year of my work, I
Yeah,
think you cannot take things for granted. You have to ask for
yeah,
things which help you in your career growth. So, like I talked about my first appraisal, right? I just thought everything was hunky dory, and I would get a great appraisal, and they said, "Why? I mean, there was so much more you could have asked for and done." So always ask for more. I think that's what I've learned from my very first appraisal. And
yeah.
don't be kind of doing the BAU. Don't do the BAU always.
And that's a great takeaway. So, Tetri, what was it for you?
For me, I've been an extremely competitive person, because till I finished my studies, it was always about being number one, just being competitive, etc., etc. And at the workplace, I realized it's not about competition, but it's about collaboration. So that's what I learned on my first job. And they said, why do you have to compete with a fellow person? I mean, fellow whatever, you can collaborate and win together. And that's been a fantastic learning. And I would say change your perspective. And I think I mentioned it earlier also, with by yourself you can win so much, but with collaboration you can win much more. So you can collaborate and do many many things.
Right, Tetri. And that is a very strong perspective that we have gathered from all three of you through this question. So now I think as we're running short of time, we'll just take this quick question. Shifa is saying that we all hit those moments where self doubt starts to spiral and actually messes with our focus. So, how do you stay grounded and keep that imposter voice from tanking your confidence? That's a great question.
I would say, if I have to go, I'd say take a pause,
Yeah.
just breathe, and then step outside of that perspective for a little while, get a different vantage point, or do something random, very different from what you typically do. Like if you love coding and then you're stuck in some particular coding challenge, go for a run. Or if you're having a problem with your, do something very different from what you're going through, and then it gives you an absolutely different perspective. And I also think reading books or articles, or watching movies which are inspirational, give you another kind of a boost to kind of break your whatever situation you're stuck in. It gives you another point of view. So yeah, that's what I'd suggest.
Right, Tetri. So, Sukanya, would you like to add on this?
Yeah, I would say the whole paralysis by analysis zone. So it's just really not going to help the more you think about it. Just break free, get an outside in perspective, like we said. And if you, it could be as simple as penning it down in a piece of paper in terms of, what are the pros and cons. And that will just help you come back to your focus point as to why you wanted it in the first place. So that's just my tip.
Right, Sukanya. And Manisha, for you, what
I
do
think
you think?
pros and cons work great for me. I always do that when I get stuck. Sometimes, even that run does not help actually. So then I write it down because it's too troubling sometimes. But the pros and cons always helps, and then you're very clear on what went right and what you could have done better, maybe, right? And then you're back to your normal again. So thank you. Sukanya was saying that it kind of validated something that's always on my head. So thank you.
Yeah, that's right. And definitely, it also makes us take away from this particular question also, and from all the questions that we tried to answer. So thank you so much, Manisha, Tetri, and Sukanya for all the answers. Definitely, we have got some great, powerful reflections, perspectives, and your viewpoints on some particular and key points that we were looking forward to. And with that, we finally wrap up an incredibly insightful panel on women in leadership today, progress gaps, and the road ahead. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our esteemed panelists, Manisha, Tetri, and Sukanya, for such an insightful discussion. It was truly a pleasure to hear your valuable perspectives and learn from your experiences.
It was
Thank
our
you.
pleasure to be here. Thank you for hosting us.
Yeah, thank you.
Enjoy
We
the day.
enjoyed.
Thank you
Thank
for all the
you.
questions.
Thanks, everyone. And yeah, happy International Women's Day in
Happy
advance.
International Women's Day to all of you.
Best.
Yes, and your perspectives have definitely added immense value to this conversation. It was an absolute pleasure hosting all of you and having you be a part of this engaging panel. So, wishing you all a very happy International Women's Day. A big thank you as well to all our wonderful participants for your enthusiastic engagement. You've played a significant role in making this session a great success. As we continue with She Builds the Future 2026, we hope today's session leaves you all inspired to lead with clarity, confidence, and purpose. And the session has been recorded. The recording will soon be available on techgig.com for those all who would like to revisit the insights that are shared today. Thank you once again to everyone for joining us. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow for our day 2 sessions. We have a crosstalk at 11:30 a.m. and the closing panel at 4 p.m. Thank you everyone for joining. It was really
Thank
great
you.
hosting
Yeah.
you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.